Was going to do it, so that's good. So,
Yeah, now you're right.
hello everyone. So, for you that are joining us, just a private joke. I just did that 2 minutes ago, and I forgot to press the go live button. So now we're live, and it's still a pleasure to welcome everyone in this CyberPeace Lab, and it's still a pleasure to welcome our panelists. The topic today is it's interesting from the point of view of we want to check in this ecosystem, in this what is happening in threats towards the healthcare, what's the response of the industry, how this response can fit with other type of response, and we will focus our conversation around the Cyber for Healthcare project that I hope you that who are following us know about this project where we're making this analysis of what is happening in the field of healthcare in order to match this need with the capable and the willing, and we have a lot of the capable and the willing with us today in the panel. So I would like to introduce again the panelists, and I will start again with you, Jen Ellis, who is the Vice President of Community and Public Affairs for Rapid7. Welcome, Jen. We have with us Rustem Khairetdinov, who is the Chief Growth Officer for BI.ZONE. Welcome. Megan Stiefel, Executive Director for Americas for the Global Cyber Alliance. Lauri, Almann, who's the co-founder and Chief Operations Officer of CybExer Technologies. Welcome. We have Stephen Cracknell, who is the CEO and co-founder of US Medical IT. Welcome, Stephen. And last but not least, Mike Polacek, who's the co-founder and Chief Strategy Officer for CyberPeace. I mentioned this into the opening, and I see Kaja. Kaja, I haven't seen you first. I thought you could not join, so please also introduce Kaja joining us. Kaja is the Director of Digital Diplomacy in Microsoft. Welcome, Kaja. We have, as you know, a project at hand which is called Cyber for Healthcare, and I'm starting with this because it helps to understand what the conversation is about and the input and the light we want to receive from the panelists. We all know that the challenge that is facing the healthcare today is at least double. It's providing health in the context of a pandemic. There's no point for us to discuss about this, it's so obvious. But at the same time is to make sure that healthcare professional, healthcare security professional could also cope with the fact that they are under attack by diverse type of groups, could be criminal groups, state actors that are impacting the capacity to deliver the services that we all need. This is not new. This is happening for years. We have wake-up call from wake-up calls. WannaCry was one, and others afterwards, and still the situation is like this. We at the very midst of the pandemic in February and March, we could document one attack on healthcare capabilities per day. And sadly enough, the tragic event that happened in Germany weeks ago in Düsseldorf, and what is happening since the beginning of the weekend with UHS is reminding us that it's still there, it's still happening. So what are the responses that we can provide? And today I'm really happy to welcome these experts that already agreed to provide expertise today, but also beyond that, their time and commitment to help the healthcare and to debrief with everyone. What can we do? What is working? What is not working? And what are the lessons that we can learn from the activities of the past year? And how can we move forward? So I have this question that I would like to throw to the audience. Is really about the Cyber for Healthcare project. Is looking what is the need in the field. What is the need when it comes to healthcare professional? And trying us to match this need with the capability to help. And the cyber needs can be expressed in very different ways. We received the Cyber for Healthcare project requests that were really technical. How can someone secure the back end of the capacity to be sure they're not going to be attacked? To the extent of more data protection requests. Suddenly, my business that was not into personal data before is becoming very personal data centric. What can I do? So large scope when it comes to requests to see how is the model of support working in order to address these needs. So the question is simple. The first one is really as professional, what did you decide to invest time and capacity in this project, and why your company decided to join an initiative like Cyber for Healthcare? And then I will go reverse, and also as an half apologies because I went to the mainstream too late. And Kaja, if you would like to start with this. And you're not mute. That should work.
Unmute. There you go. I'm unmuted. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry. I was late. It wasn't that you forgot me. I was on a different panel. So it's a busy day. No, we at Microsoft really appreciated this opportunity. I think you, as a lot of you probably know, we're a strong supporter of the CyberPeace Institute. We see there is an important need for nonprofit entities such as the CyberPeace Institute to drive independent, verifiable research in this space, as well as to create an opportunity to support and increase the technical capacity in particular of various nonprofit organizations, and in this particular case, the healthcare ecosystem writ large. We've seen over the first few months of the pandemic a dramatic increase in not just the people using lures that kind of play on COVID healthcare, but also attacks on sort of entities that are involved in the global COVID-19 response. We've seen both criminals do it. We've tracked over 16 different nation-state actors active in this space. So we felt there something needs to be done, and sort of increasing the resilience of the organizations is obviously a very important and critical first step. We obviously try and do as much as we can on our own side to support our customers, but not everybody is our customer, sadly. But so that we felt the need to engage through a third party, in this case, you guys, to be able to provide the expertise that we have to try and improve the situations as we were seeing was a really important and critical motivation, and in particularly at the specific, special, and hopefully unique circumstances that we found ourselves a couple months back.
Thank you for this, Kaja. Same question to others. Rustem, from your side, what was the drive in order to join this initiative?
We are in BI.ZONE. Thinks that there is no personal or corporate security in interconnected world, only global security, and we should focus on weakest links in the security chain, because attack to the weakest link can compromise all the chain. For example, people use the same passwords and the same emails for registration for health services, and attacks on the health organization can compromise business and other critical organizations. That is why we want to look to all chains in our global security, not all links in this chain, including the health, because in some countries, health is not very good financing, have not very good financing, and they spend for cybersecurity much less than banks or industry organization.
Yeah, building on this, thank you, Rustem, for opening that, and that's maybe, I guess, a point that we are going to cover, but I think it's the other way around. There's very little country in the world when the healthcare is properly financed, so we could look at this more from that. But thank you for opening that point. Megan, from the Global Cyber Alliance point of view, the willingness to join.
Thank you, Stéphane, and good morning, good afternoon. It's great to be with everyone. From the Global Cyber Alliance perspective, we are also a nonprofit that offers resources through our model of engagement, which is to unite global communities, scale cybersecurity solutions, and then measure the impact. For many cases we're finding in our engagement in this space, there is an absence of, among other things, secure email. So one of the things that GCA supports is the deployment of DMARC, and we have a lot of resources that the healthcare industry can use and bring to bear to, among other things, secure their email practices, as well as other resources, including the Small Business Toolkit that can, in fact, help many smaller doctors' offices and the like install and implement best cybersecurity hygiene practices. So we're delighted to work with CPI and the other partners on the call to help bring enhanced cybersecurity to a very critical sector. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Megan. And I realized that I was not very accurate in the opening. It's really a matchmaking in between the one in need and the one that are in capacity to provide the support. And it could be the industry, it could be other civil society, the one that have the network, the capacity, and invested time and resources into it. And the Global Cyber Alliance is an excellent example into this. So thank you, Megan. Lauri, from the point of view of CybExer, if you can share some words.
Thank you, Stephen. From the cybersecurity, CybExer Technologies point of view, I would like to take a little bit higher overview of why we joined, and reason number one was that I think we wanted to recognize and signify the special responsibility that cybersecurity companies have in this pandemic. The pandemic had an effect of lots of people working from home. It had an undeniable effect of lots of services additionally moving to online, which increases the cybersecurity risks. And that's why number one motivation for us was to recognize that cybersecurity companies actually, if they volunteer, if we work together, we have this special responsibility and commitment to actually make economy work, to bring the world back from this pandemic, because it is a huge impact that we can have. I can go to some of the examples later. And number two, the reason is to be part of that community. I think we should take a step back and recognize what the CyberPeace Institute has done, and congratulations for that. You have brought together this community of companies, and I think our imagination is only limited to thinking where we can go from here, how we can not only support those companies with practical needs that they have with our practical capabilities, which we do have and which we offer and which we can also describe, but also us as a group now. I think that is another exciting motivation, because for example, just one small example, a lot of the economies, at least certainly in Estonia, we rely on the tracking apps. And there's a lot of talk going around, is the app secure? Is it not secure? They are pen tested, but even a small rumor can put those apps out of business. But these are the apps that make economy work. Now, if cyber companies come together and say, even impartially or even to the competitors, that let's take a look at it. If we say it is not safe, we report so. But if it is, we say that it's safe. And if we think that those solutions are not safe, we will tell you how to make it safe, and thereby making economy work, thereby making world work again. So this is actually, it may sound big, but our motivation actually to be in this community is exactly that, to actually make the world work again, and realize the enormous sort of a role that cybersecurity community as a whole has to play.
Thank you for this, and getting some keywords from the different brief already. So resources was mentioned. I think it's a key point, but you also mentioned something here, Sienna, which is responsibility of different actors. So we are all part of this community, which means that all of us, with the business model that we have and why we are here, we have specific responsibilities, and it's good that we can also spend some time discussing about this. Jen, from the point of view of Rapid7.
Yeah, so I think, many of the things that people have already discussed, I think were certainly relevant to us as well. But there were two other things. One, Rapid7's mission statement actually contains that we want to help close the security achievement gap and make cybersecurity accessible to all. And, I think this hits on some of the points that were raised. Otherwise, I like Rustem's concept of not enterprise, not personal, global security. Like, I think that sort of resonates with us a great deal, that idea of like really security is something everybody should have access to. And there's nothing like a global pandemic to really highlight the importance of making it available to organizations that are limited in resources and dealing with a very, very high criticality issue. The second sort of big driver for us was, when the pandemic hit and it sort of affected people all over the world, we as companies were made up of employees who would sit and watch the news, and they'd be working from home, and it had a really profound effect on everybody. Everybody felt lost. Everybody felt a loss of control. People were scared. They didn't know how to participate. They didn't know how to help. And they wanted to. A lot of people wanted to. And I think in the security community, you see a lot of people who are very community-centric often, who sort of have a feeling that as security experts, they kind of see the matrix and they feel a sense of responsibility to help share that technical expertise to help protect others. Most people I know who work in security have a pretty strong protector gene. And so for us, when the lockdowns started to happen around the world and people were working from home and they were feeling disconnected and dealing with all of the pain points that came with it, we started thinking, how do we empower our people to feel as though they're playing a role and that they're making a contribution and that they're taking some small measure of control back? And so Cyber for Healthcare was a really phenomenal opportunity for us to give our people a chance to do that and to get involved. And there were lots of other community volunteer initiatives like the CTI League and the CTC Cyber Threat Coalition that our people also participated in. And I think, it's important to remember that aspect of like the morale piece and the nature of many security professionals to want to help as we look at cyber volunteering as a bigger topic and think about how do we go forward from here, because I don't think that goes away, and I do think it has a really profound effect on people when they feel that they can be part of a solution and they can help others.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah, the very good point. And in fact, first follow-up question is going to be afterwards on this volunteering model. Is that what we learned from it? And you're mentioning that the Cyber Threat Coalition or the CTI League, it's an interesting model to look into how they work and how a project like Cyber for Healthcare helps, does not help, or adds something, how we can have all these activities working together. Stephen, from your point of view, the motivation to join.
Yeah, sure. I can speak to the fact that I think that the cyber for healthcare and the CyberPeace initiative in general are helping to raise awareness out there in the healthcare community. And obviously, cyber experts are busy right now, but volunteering in this kind of effort to educate our healthcare community and help them get proactive and get onto their front foot is super important, because it's how we're going to really make a dent in this particular problem. My team and I were last week out on site with a client that had just been attacked, and he had the painful experience of realizing how important testing their restore procedures are. They're dragging themselves back into business again, but not without a lot of pain. So we're excited to be here to help organizations talk about backup strategies, test restore, the importance of training their staff, having an effective cyber insurance policy, and how all those things can help in case of an emergency. But I think getting on that front foot and helping organizations think strategically about their cyber defenses is really important for the globe. And as we talked about with UHS, we're seeing people die if we don't take a more proactive stance. So we're excited to participate here too.
No, thank you for this opening, and also sadly enough, we see this really live with what is happening in UHS since Sunday. So it's sad that it's a very live conversation. Mike, from your point of view, the incentive to join the coalition.
Yeah. So for us, it's quite simple. Resonates with our company values and our vision to build readiness for all. I think the threat environment is quite clear for all of us, not since the pandemic start, but for the many years ago. And the urgency at this moment actually put the healthcare sector actually in the frontier. And we just felt that it is the right time to support it in any way. And just when we met the CyberPeace initiative, it was just like love at first sight. So the motivation just came across and met our values. That's a simple. The simplest way to describe it.
Thank you for this. And so we talked about resources. We talked about the values, and behind the values, the fact that you not only organize yourself as entity in order to participate to this project, but also Jen, you touch upon this, and also Kaja, when it comes to what your colleagues, the one working with you, feel that they want to add, they want to provide to society as what they feel is their core responsibility of cybersecurity expert or the field of expertise that would be exactly useful now that we are facing this threat. I'm quite curious about how this corporate volunteering program works. In fact, how do you feel the incentive is for within your companies, within your construct, for your colleagues to have the capacity to stand up and to have enough time and focus in order to support the wider community. So for Kaja, for Jen, if you could develop on this.
You want to go or you want me to take it? Okay, so we think about it in a lot of different ways. It's a very multifaceted thing at Rapid7. We've had for a number of years an initiative called Rapid7 Gives Back, where we effectively pick a day and close the company, and everybody volunteers. Everybody spends the day raking leaves or painting youth centers or walking dogs at the pet centers, like all sorts of ranges of random things. And sometimes they're technology centric and technology focused. Certainly we try and lean in on STEM as much as possible and engaging young people and underrepresented minorities to get involved in technology. But it can be anything, and it's about sort of giving back to our local communities as much as possible. And that's been something we've done for a long time. We've wanted to think about how we could extend it and take it further, and we've been investigating a number of different ways of doing that. And I think that there are a range of ways that organizations can do this. We can do something like Cyber for Healthcare, which is very much a corporate participation. It goes through the head of the services division at Rapid7, and they selected a number of activities that we could provide from our services team, and then they plug in people who are available and have time to do it. And it's structured very much as a services engagement, but it's just pro bono. We also had, as I mentioned, a number of people who participated in initiatives like the CTI League, the Cyber Threat Coalition. There are people at Rapid7 who are members of I Am the Cavalry, which is a grassroots volunteer organization that looks at cyber safety issues and has done a huge amount in the healthcare sector connected with connected medical devices. And so, those people volunteer their time and expertise on an individual basis in their free time. And we as an organization looked at how we can support it, how we can amplify it, how we can connect the dots for them and remove friction. Can we provide data to them? Can we help leverage our own individual networks to get more people involved? Can we help raise the profile of what they're doing to get more people involved? There's lots of different things there. And then the last thing I would say, that I've really thought about a lot and have been looking at is How do we create a framework for participation across the industry? Like, wouldn't that be cool if we had some way of taking the blueprint that you guys have created with Cyber for Healthcare and applying it more broadly as a sort of matching program for nonprofits to get assistance with cybersecurity from people who have technical capability and want to provide time, but don't necessarily want to become the unofficial CISO of a nonprofit, right? Because like I think today that's part of the problem is if you want to volunteer, often it comes down to, do you know people at an organization and do you have the capacity to have a second full-time job? And it shouldn't have to be like that. We should be able to create a model where people can sort of dip in and out a little bit more and volunteer whatever time they're able to, and it's still appropriately vetted and it's still adding value and driving value. And I think like if we could build a framework like that, I'm on my soapbox now, and I'm sorry, I do have a big soapbox about this because it's something I'm very passionate about. Wouldn't it be really cool if we could figure out how to do this and then have ways for corporations to participate? So companies could come along and say, okay, if our employees meet whatever set of criteria we choose, then we would say that they could allocate X number of hours. So I met somebody from a tech company who was saying that they have a scheme where they basically commit 100 hours a year for their people to participate, which is awesome. That's so great. And so imagine if there was like a set program where those people could then say, I'm going to take my 100 hours and I'm going to give 60 of them to go help volunteer on cybersecurity initiatives for nonprofits. Like that would be so immense. So that's what I would love to see, is if there's a way of making that work. And then the last thing is, you mentioned how law firms provide pro bono assistance. I want to give a quick shout out to the Citizen Clinic at Berkeley, who they have a great program that enables their grad students to provide pro bono assistance to nonprofits. And they think about it very much the way that law schools do it. And so they've been trying to figure out how you get cybersecurity firms to mentor students in the same way that you see that with law firms, right? Again, wouldn't that be a really cool thing? You know, it's such an established thing that law firms will often have a relationship with a law school, and their lawyers will help mentor the law students in providing pro bono assistance. And it's such a win-win for everybody. It helps the law firms find and recruit great talent. It also makes them feel better about what they do. It gives the law students phenomenal access into law firms and a lot more experience. And nonprofits get the opportunity to get legal guidance. Like if we could replicate that for cybersecurity, wouldn't that be a cool thing? I will now get off my soapbox.
And I will be super brief because like all of the stuff that Jen just said, all of it. Also Steve Trush and the Citizen Clinic, right? I think, but for us, just on this specific case, we partly because the situation, like we're in the middle of COVID, we're kind of running and building this thing. We basically just went to the business and to the engineering, and we were like, so we think this is important. Do you want to support? So we kind of went completely. We ignored all of sort of Microsoft's great employee giving and corporate donation programs, and just kind of we went to the source, and they were like, yes, this makes sense. We definitely want to help, and we'll make time. We'll basically carve the time out of the work that we normally support the clients for. But more broadly, what Jen was saying for the industry, I would love for us to even be able to do it for Microsoft. Microsoft has this fantastic employee giving program. We're, the numbers are a little crazy, right? I think last year was over 800,000 employee volunteer hours just in the US. Almost 200 million in donation matched by Microsoft, and the ability to, but a lot of it is, and it's obviously not a bad thing, but it's a lot of it is to more traditional causes. Whether it's volunteering on your local community, whether it's human rights organizations, whether it's, pick anything. But if we were to able to tap into some of that, and like Jen was saying, I think there's definitely, you know, when I talk to my colleagues, they're in security, there's definitely a real interest in helping. It's just they're like, I don't know how, you know, I don't know if I'm allowed. In creating a program where they are able to effectively, I mean, very simply, as for other giving programs, go on the website and kind of select, I support, you know, I want to volunteer cyber for healthcare. There you will be kind of sanctioned by the corporation, and the corporation will match, you know, whether it's money in terms of donation, whether it's in terms of time. I think to me, that's kind of the holy grail.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very interesting, in fact, and also thinking of how this model can go beyond just this example of cyber for healthcare, and looking at this with very different, different size of engagements of staff. Looking at this from the company point of view, when the question for Stephen, Lauri, and Mike, I guess. When you join a project like Cyber for Healthcare, so what's your expectation on the company level in terms of is this something that is more staff-centric, so it's going to grow some expertise, some engagement of value of staff, or is something that's happening at company level because it goes, and some of you mentioned this is in the DNA of the company, it's the DNA of what you want to do, so that's where and why you're going there. Interested also from that point of view. Anything to start?
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, thank you. So, from our perspective, we're still a young company. So we actually don't have any employee volunteer program, but we try to lead by example and take those activities as part of our DNA, as you mentioned. So, you know, early days we did the pro bono services for young startups, even though we were still a young startup, and they were contributing to a cybersecurity educational program. And by that, we encourage our team members to contribute on their own. Not as part, I think there is a slight contradiction when we're talking about volunteering and when the company so-called enforced it. So we have a different approach on one hand. And another point I want to highlight is that we do not believe in one shot. So continuity in volunteering, in supporting or building readiness into the cyber health community is the challenge. So what we are trying to achieve as a company is alignment between our values and our way of contribution or volunteering. And that's regardless of our employees as individuals. I hope it was clear.
Thank you. Thank you. Very clear. Very interesting in this also sustainability that you're just mentioning, how to make sure that it stays and then we can build upon it. So yep. Something we can come back to. Stephen, from your point of view, how does it grow into the mission of the company?
Yeah, like Mike, we're not a large company either. We're a boutique firm that helps healthcare professionals. So we look at volunteering as an opportunity for our employees to kind of answer that question, why? Why do I come to work every day? What is it that I'm doing here beyond just generating cash for the business? And I think that when they get a chance to turn around and invest some of their own time in initiatives that help the community, then I think that really does help them come back to work recharged and feeling the passion for why they're here every day. One of our core tenets is technology is transformative. It can be transformative in a negative way. The cyber attacks that are destroying companies. It can also be obviously transformative in a positive way. And so we're here to push in that positive direction. We launched a campaign right when COVID hit to help clinics for free start launching their own telemedicine program to help them send some of their staff home so they could work from home. and also give them cybersecurity resources, because working from home opens up a whole bunch of new doors for cyber attackers to come back into the business. So, we see it as a, core to our business, and we're excited every time we get an opportunity to reinvest in a smart way to help our our healthcare community here in the United States and around the world with these types of initiatives. So it's important to us, I think, as a business, whether you're small or big, having that, it's kind of at the heart of everyone's business is to be able to answer that question why.
Thank you. Another why, yeah, for sure. It's quite important if everyone is looking for meaning, specifically these days when you come in the morning in the office, and that adds to the why, so it adds, I guess, to the motivation and stuff. Very, very valid point. Thank you, Stephen, for this.
Sure.
Lauri, from your point of view, what's in it for the company?
Well, we have been traditionally partnering with our government and also with several medical institutions, specifically to counter cyber threats. And what was our thinking immediately when the pandemic hit was to offer something that is practical, that is immediate, that we know that there is a need for, and our offering was a volunteer offering was based on an unfortunate incidents, a series of unfortunate incidents that we can also see on a much larger scale today, namely ransomware. A year or a couple of years ago, even our family doctors, the medical system here is based on the family doctor system, got hit by ransomware, and in cooperation with our government, we actually volunteered for family doctor cyber hygiene program. So because the problem is that family doctors, indeed, as it was also mentioned, they don't have a lot of budget, they don't have a lot of knowledge to approach some of those cyber topics. And the way we build up the program is that every step of the way, as people go through the course, we don't do it in a sort of a thou shalt not preaching style, but we also want to learn from the community going through the course. So that actually gave us a pretty good feedback to have a more medical targeted programs and content. And immediately when the pandemic hit, what we did, we made that free. Initially, it was a licensed product, but we just took a decision. We have to do something, and we have to do something practical. And what happened? We put a certain content of our study program online, free, mycyberhygiene.com, and there were the feedback was very good, and we were happy to learn where people wanted us to take that course. At every step of the way, people were entitled to ask questions, and our goal is also to learn from that program how we can make it even better. So we are looking at we launched it in 13 languages. But we launched it as is. So now we are much smarter. We are now on the second round, and more customized content already from the lessons that we have from previous months. So I think a couple of things: time criticality, put out something very fast. Second, learn from the audience, and third, we just try to be practical and actually go with some of our capabilities. And now we are looking at some of our other capabilities. So organizing live fire exercises. We are now constantly offering medical professional schools, hospitals, family doctor teams opportunities to participate in those, and so on and so on. But it's a rewarding experience, and I must say that we have, as a company, also learned a lot from that, and that's also a great benefit.
Well, thank you. It's very interesting. So the expectation, in fact, are on different level. If I'm trying to take a bit, is that it's something that within your own entities. So what are the expectation of what is going to give the one that are providing time? So how do they feel with the meaning of their mission? There's really something that you're mentioning in terms of sustainability is that okay to participate to a project, but we need to find a way that it's not a one-off. So how we make sure that this or scale or stays. And remember in the previous CyberPeace Lab, some of you were there, we discussed about this sustainability issue when it comes to the volunteering approach. How can we make like global volunteering approaches sustainable over time? And there's something else also, and that leads me to the next question is how this leads to several challenges. We saw in Cyber for Healthcare, one of the challenge was trust. It was like you have a project, it's Cyber for Healthcare, it's very nice. Okay, you have these entities that are backing the project, so all of you, and we are entities that are from all over the world and companies that are very trusted, known. So okay, you would imagine it's like a card for trust, but still at that moment it's very complicated to have someone in need or thinking that one day they are going to be in need just to trust you, because strangely enough, it feels strange that someone wants to help you for free. So sometimes when someone wants to give you something for free, it's not really for free. So you have to overcome that. And then the second bit is really to make sure that someone is even in capacity to formulate the ask. So I am in need, I need to have the time to formulate the ask, and then I need to have the capacity to ingest the support. And that's also a challenge that we could see. And it goes also with the sustainability issue. Focusing on these challenges, Rustem and Megan, what would you focus would be the complexity of this kind of program or this kind of initiative in terms of challenge? Megan, if you would like to start.
Sure, thank you, Stéphane. Yes, I completely agree. We found in a range of work, including with CPI, that trust is a central issue, and that's one of the key challenges in opportunities for us is that, as Jen and others have mentioned, there are a number of organizations that have been working in this space, the members of which know each other and have a significant amount of trust in their relationships and the capabilities of others. And it's really, as you've mentioned, also, Stéphane, a matter of matchmaking and bringing these organizations with who trust each other and have the capacity to the organizations who are in need. And unfortunately, we're in a position where it takes time to build trust, but I think we've learned a lot along the way. And so even in the few months that the Cyber for Health initiative has been underway, there's been an opportunity, and hopefully we'll see an exponential growth in the level of trust among the members of this coalition, and including extending it to other areas where the initiative and the lab may focus its work in the next project. So we're hopefully going to see kind of a hockey stick effect of trust within the community that will allow us to really bring some additional resources to a range of vulnerable populations.
Thank you, Megan, for this. It's the thing is sometimes strange is that it's not new challenges. Like, you know, when I was about to say we sit together, we don't really sit together, but okay, see what I mean. When we discuss, it's like the challenge are known. It's like we have the same one from one form to another for years, and it's difficult. It looks like there's tons of willingness to help. I mean, volunteering is there, people wants to help, and we still are facing the same challenges. So, it's like the sandbox one that Jen is using. So what can we invent, you know, to go beyond this? Rustem, some input from your point of view.
It takes two for tango.
I can join to the positions of previous speaker, because to build trust in cybersecurity is a long process, and usually people think that good cybersecurity costs good money, and many cybersecurity companies looks like very expensive services. And during this pandemic, we break this position and open the free line for everyone can ask for help during half a year for basic security like antivirus, anti-DDoS, anti-fraud, and so on. Just switch on your traffic on us, and we protect it. And of course, if you cannot, it's a modern world. If you can't pay with money, you can pay with data. Okay, because we are, as the cybersecurity professionals, interested of new methods of attacks or new vectors of attack, and of course we fill our databases and give this data to our machine learning engines, and this way we can make the our services cheaper and free for medical institution, just for train our personnel and train our artificial intelligence. Yeah.
Thank you for this.
Stéphane, it is Stephen. Can I just do a couple comments on this, on the trust area? I think that you think about the hackers, they're actually taking advantage of that. With one of the ways they get into organizations is through these emails offering help around COVID, and so they're actually attacking the trust vector here. But honestly, even with a trustworthy organization like this one, you've got a situation to overcome of like you're exposing your company's weaknesses, and it ends up being a really sensitive topic, and you're having intimate conversations with what initially is a stranger. And so yeah, it's an uphill battle, I think, even when you have a trust relationship that's solid. But it's a challenge when we deal with these kinds of situations where we're trying to create new relationships and offer assistance in this way. But it's so important. We have to do that uphill slog and build that trust.
No, just building on this, Stephen. In fact, anyone who wants to jump on this one, very short, please, as an answer. Do you feel that there's a negative part to this kind of support, to this kind of coalition, in terms of proposing help to someone is like in the hidden of the lines is it means that you did something wrong, or it means that you need help, or you're not secure enough, or you're someone vulnerable, you're potential victims. So do you feel that, have you felt that into the various activities that you did? And is there something like, in this specific sector that is the healthcare, with all the problematic that we know now, that it's part of the decision-making to ask for help? Is that if I put my neck out in order to ask for help, I may be criticized because it may well mean that I did something wrong?
If I may, I think cybersecurity community itself is partly to blame for that, and this is something that I also said in the beginning, that I think especially in situations like this, we need to realize this sort of special responsibility that we have, but also we should also choose the tone and avoid exactly the problem rhetoric that you brought out. It's but actually in the area that we are now, it is actually very similar, like to going for a doctor. So sometimes people are putting that off because maybe there's something wrong with them, and so the analogy is actually one-on-one applicable, and I think we just. When I look sometimes, and also in our company, one of the things that we try to do, being completely aware of that, is to control our rhetoric. So I think the condescension, the realization of the sensitivity, as Stephen also mentioned, all those difficult points, we just need to talk about that. And for example, if there is an app, and if there is a belief that COVID tracking app maybe is not secure, then I think, for example, there are two patterns that the security company can go about it, and they can go about and track that, we found a vulnerability, or they can say that, honestly, there may be some mistakes, but you can make it safe this way, and so these are my thoughts. I think it comes down to community, but it also comes down to the tone, and really trying to make that work. And of course, it's an exercise in patience.
It's interesting to say that the cybersecurity community has a responsibility in how they set the tone of the conversation. It's an interesting one. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else on this?
Yeah, I'll jump in on it as well. So firstly, I agree with everything that Lauri just said. I do think that we have a responsibility to set a tone, and I don't know that the security community has done itself many favors historically on that necessarily. So I echo that. I also think what I heard from a lot of both healthcare organizations and governments who are working with healthcare organizations was that they were overwhelmed by one, what was happening in terms of like their operational need to respond to COVID. Two, what was happening in terms of the like spikes in cyber attacks and their need to respond to them. And three, they were overwhelmed by the number of organizations reaching out to them. I think, you know, all of a sudden, every security vendor on the planet was reaching out to every healthcare provider on the planet, and that was just incredibly overwhelming. And so, you know, I think in a lot of countries, what happened was, fortunately, government cybersecurity agencies stepped up and started acting as liaison with the healthcare sector and helping them sort of understand how to respond to attacks and what to prioritize and that kind of stuff, which is great. But it did kind of create like a little bit of a wall, which, you know, I think may have been necessary, honestly, so that they could focus and get on with it. I think, though, that's really something that highlights the value of the program that the CyberPeace Institute is running, right? You know, to have a non-profit that is independent and global in reach sort of step in and say, we're not trying to sell you anything. You know, we're not trying to serve any of our own purpose. We just want to help. And we have this bunch of companies that we've vetted, going back to the trust issue that you guys already addressed. I think that's really valuable. And I think it helped to sort of cut out some of that, that cynicism that is warranted. Like it is a cynicism that has been born out of, you know, experience.
Yeah, for sure. No, thank you, Jen, for this. I don't know if someone else wants to take a shot at this one because they have a follow-up question. Otherwise,
maybe just really quickly. I think you know, in addition to all what that was said, I would probably say I think it's important for all of us to stop talking about security as something, as a holy grail, as something that we will all achieve, that is, and then it's just fixed and nothing can happen. I think this is when, and we, you know, like we say it every day, when something will happen and it has a dramatic dent in a company, individual, you know, organization or whatever, perception on how secure they are and their customers' trust of them, all of these things. But I think we need to recognize that, you know, the security will fail. And I think we need to find a way of talking about it that highlights the importance of investing in security, increasing security, but also recognizing that it's not like 100%. And then the other point was trying to, you know, like a lot of the requests that we received, it was kind of like, there's a problem, help us. So moving a little bit beyond, okay, let's fix the immediate problem, but like also leaving on the other side with some tools to, you know, like I'm not saying we should all upskill and be security experts, but have some basic tools for some basic cyber hygiene. I think as part of these sort of like cleanup efforts, let's say, I think would be really critically important going forward.
No, thank you for this. I get Megan, when we speak about tools for cyber hygiene for everyone, that's something that speaks to you.
Most certainly, it certainly does. I think just to build briefly a moment on some of the remarks recently, we mentioned a bit about sustainability, and to Kaja's point, I think it speaks a little bit of resilience. And if we, at the risk of making analogies that we all ultimately recognize fall apart, we know, for example, in the environmental context that climate change is happening, but we still do things that try to reduce the impact of climate change. And I think we need to really bring some of that mindset to the security space, which is things will break down, but if we work along the way incrementally to enhance the security of the efforts that we're undertaking, hopefully we will get to a place where the breakdown happens less often and is less severe. So that's also what we bring from GCA's point of view, and working with others in the community to bring free resources to bear to a range of problems, from, as I mentioned, email security to protective DNS services through the resource Quad 9, which helps reduce the likelihood of going to malicious websites. Of course, we know, as folks have talked about today, particularly in the context of COVID-19, there are a large number of malicious domains that have been established, and we think that using a protective DNS service, whether it's the one that GCA works on or others, is an important tool to reduce the impact of these types of vulnerabilities. So it's been great to work with CPI and others to help disseminate the resources that we and others have brought to the challenge.
No, thank you. What you're just mentioning in terms of the importance of making sure that you can secure the DNS access is critical. So at least to look into how Quad 9 works, and people can make their own choice, but having only that curiosity helps a lot. We have 5-6 minutes late. We'll move it to 7, so to 8 even. In 1 minute each, please. If you could, I just want to pick one word that we mentioned is sustainability, because we need to look forward. So in 1 minute, what would be your take on how to make these activities, this kind of coalition, sustainable to the challenge that is at hand? Stephen.
I'm muting there. Yeah, I think if we have a structured process that is predictable for our, what we can offer up to our prospective organizations as far as what they'll receive at the end of a session with us, I think that would be helpful on the scale side. I think getting feedback from the folks that have received our support and getting that published out there to give people a sense of trust that this is a worthwhile cause, and that the effort that they're going to put into it is going to get them advice and guidance that's going to put them on the right track towards a more secure environment. I think those are all really important tenets to building a scalable system that will help organizations in a global sense get more secure and help repel hackers, because hackers love ignorance and love it when employees haven't been trained on how to avoid phishing attempts and the like. So I think it's really important that we work hard on the spot we talked about earlier, is building trust and helping people convince this is a worthwhile effort to sit down and dive into their cybersecurity defenses and get some advice.
Thank you. So I take from this one structure and feedback that are really key.
Yep.
Then, sustainability, 1 minute.
I actually would echo a lot of what Stephen said. I mean, I think I already got on my soapbox and said, I would love to see frameworks to take something like cyber for healthcare further and think about how you broaden it out to other nonprofits, and how you also broaden it out so that individuals can participate, not just organizations. But the reality is that for something like that to happen, there's got to be a framework. There's got to be a vetting process, because that speaks back to that trust piece that you guys all touched on. There's got to be somebody coordinating it. And so somebody's got to step up and want to do that and want to own it. And obviously with a lot of nonprofits as well, they have even higher levels of vetting requirement because of the nature of their organization. If they're, for example, a nonprofit that works with kids, then they have requirements for vetting the people who are participating. So somebody's got to own all of that and develop a process and a framework. And I will say right now that if anyone wants to put their hand up to do it, I'm happy to join and work out how to make it work. But I think that's, to Stephen's point, it's got to be, it can't be ad hoc. It can't be opportunistic. It's got to have some sort of replicability and consistency, and people know what they're going to expect and how they're going to participate.
Thank you, Jen. Lauri?
I think here the sustainability equals community, and I'm really excited to see how this community is going to develop further and what we can achieve together as a community in cyber for healthcare. I have learned already today in this very brief discussion, when we just scratched the surface, a lot and that in itself is a benefit. But if we could find ways to exchange those experiences, discuss those issues that are related to, for example, volunteering, making people, organizations more comfortable of accepting that type of help, how to make it understandable, how to reach out, how to set the tone. I think that can be really useful. I think here, if we would work together, the sum would not be a linear. I think it would be an exponential effect, and so I'm really looking forward for this community to thrive and learn more from each other, and then see where we can go.
Hey, Stéphane, can we get stickers that say sustainability equals community?
I love
it.
I like this a lot. I was about to steal it. Thank you for stealing it.
Right. That's all of us.
Rustem, from your point of view.
Yes, we are very excited of this program because during this half a year we helped more than 80 organizations having new friends, security people in in healthcare and other organizations who provide, for example, financial services during pandemic, and government organization who help the make the QR codes and like quarantine control services. And as a professionals, we understand that security is a day-by-day job, and we decide to prolongate this program. I don't know forever or not, but next half a year. And we hope more organizations will join it because we have some reputation who help for free for organizations who in need for this.
Thank you, Rustem, for this, for sure. Kaja?
I think, I would just be repeating what other people have said. I mean, like sustainability, the community, I think is really important. Frameworks are important. So I will kind of leave it and see if there's others who have new things to say.
Thank you, Kaja, for this. Mike?
So for us, sustainability is built on three elements. One, it will be managed, or it is managed, but by one of the co-founders of the company. So we are here to stay. Second, it becomes one of our initiatives or programs. So it is managed like any other program model that we have in the company. And the third is we want to walk the talk. So we just want to be involved in doing something. And as I mentioned earlier, it should not be a one-shot or a project. It should be a long-lasting initiative.
Thank you, Mike. And Megan?
I too think I would be echoing what others have said. I think the idea of repetition and the ability to, as others have said, build policy and process around how we bring these organizations together to have an impact and reduce risk globally, the more we're able to have consistency across the mechanisms and the instances in which we do so will, I think, help address trust and therefore enhance sustainability.
Thank you, Megan, and a lot of very good points that were voiced there. And before closing, just to mention to the audience that this will be published on CyberPeace Institute website, and you will see in big the quote that sustainability is community. So that's there. So again, about this, it will be on our website first. So apologies about that. I just wanted to flag something that may seem trivial, but we have here in the panel representative from Russia, from the US, from Israel, from the EU. So it looks like working together is possible in the field of cyber. Just a simple example sometimes. And I want to thank the panelists for your time, for your dedication, what you're doing for the ones that are every day trying to make sure that we'll go through this pandemic. So may also sound super trivial. Yes, of course, we are cyber expert and we have to do this, but I mean, you are doing it. So I wanted to commend this and to you and your teams and what you're providing for the wider community. On this note, thanks everyone for being with us, and speak to you in the next CyberPeace Lab. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.